The awkwardness of recording yourself. How I've missed you. Hi, my name is Marcy. My Instagram handle is Amnicon Studio, and I blog at amniconstudio.blogspot.com. And my YouTube channel name is also Amnicon Studio. Thank you for visiting with me today. The bad thing about being able to just hit stop and start over again is that I have tried recording this part at least half a dozen times. I'd start it, realize I didn't like what I just said, hit delete, and try it again. Ugh. So it's hard getting back into the groove of this. I haven't recorded since mid-February, and shortly after that I had a health thing come up, and recording videos just went by the wayside. I still blogged a little bit, so if you want to know a little bit more about what was going on, you can go to my blog, amniconstudioblogspot.com. I'll post a link down in the show notes, or down in the box below the video. Show notes will also be at my blog, because I like to have all that stuff in one place rather than scattered underneath all the videos. I don't really have a plan for how this video is going to go. I don't want to rush myself, so I don't know how long it's going to be. I have just a few notes. Not as many things to show as you would think if it's been that long since recording. A few weeks ago or so, I put a blog post up kind of saying, like, here's where things are. Here's the things I want to show. Here's my goals I'd like to do for the month of July, which, being how fast July's going, I don't know if I'm going to get all that stuff that I want to do done by the end, because I also garden. And even though gardening isn't going as well as I thought it would because of the weather, things are starting to come in a little bit. Like this morning, I picked cherries off the cherry tree. It was the first picking of the season, and I'm pretty excited about that. Anything else I want to say? Oh, I know a lot of the country is experiencing a heat wave. For most of the season so far for my area, we've experienced rain. And if I didn't mention it already, I am in the northern Wisconsin, in the north woods of Wisconsin. We have not had a lot of heat yet this summer. This week is the first week that we are experiencing consistent temperatures in the 80s, which is just in time for the smoke from the Canadian wildfires to come down. So local news is saying go inside if the smoke bothers you, if you have breathing issues. But okay, I've got some cross stitch stuff to show you, some knitting, a couple other projects I'll talk about. If I remember how, I'll post them. I'll post pictures, hopefully here, of quilting and whatever else is on my list. So let's get started. And I apologize if I sigh a lot. I am a sigher, and I don't realize how loud it is until I started recording myself and can hear just the how loud it is. But I'm a heavy breather. All right, so the first thing I want to show you is my current works in progress for cross stitch. I have two things going. One I've had going for a while, and one I just started a few weeks ago. And I'm gonna lean over to pick them up. First piece I'm going to show you is a project that I'm making for my son. It's either going to be for Christmas or for his birthday next year. It all depends on when I can get it done. And I have a little project card, one piece cross stitch. My son is big into the anime One Piece, and I've watched a couple episodes of it. I haven't gotten very far into it. Um, he, of course, he doesn't know that I'm working on it, so I can't work on it when he's home, and I haven't touched it in a few weeks. But I hit it pretty hard for a while there. If you follow me on Instagram. Um, let's do this. Um, yeah, so I've got the head done, the outline of the hat. I'm working on the hair. The body will be down here. The chart came from an Etsy seller, and the chart is no longer available. So I'm guessing it was a copyright thing that they weren't supposed to do. I've learned a lot about Etsy in the last year or so. Like, I've purchased a couple PDFs of charts that I found out were basically bootlegs. And well, I already purchased them, so I mean, I don't plan on doing anything else with them, so it is what it is. But um I enjoy working on this one because it is just the one color, and it's pretty easy to tell if you have any errors. Although, and I've got the PDF in Pattern Keeper, which I love Pattern Keeper. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say about it. Yeah, the designer is Cross Stitch Bay on Etsy. I don't have a picture of what the finished chart looks like because everything that I found online was just the chart of this, but no actual pictures of it. So I think I started it March 30th. Hope to have it done by the end of the year. Well, before Christmas at the very earliest. If I can't finish it by Christmas, then hopefully by the end of January 2025. That's one piece. And then the next one that I'm going to show is a chart that I've had for a few years now. And it's a piece that I was a little intimidated to start, and I thought I would start it sooner than I did, and then I got into my own head and got nervous and didn't want to start it, and then I finally decided that I was going to make it my birthday start. Well, my birthday kind of came and went, and I still didn't start it, but I started it in the week of my birthday, so I figure that's got to count, right? And this one, hold on, let me grab the chart. Okay, the chart is called Crested Porcupine, and I purchased it from an Etsy seller. I think it was, Etsy seller is called Purple Stitching on Etsy, and I made a little card. 49 colors. The floss and the paper chart lives in a bag that I made. I decided to start it on a piece of Aida cloth that I got from Forbidden Fiber Co. 14 count Aida. It lives in a pillowcase because I don't want to take it off the Q-snap too much, or more than necessary, and I made the grime guard. And so far, that is what I have. So yeah, I forgot to put how many stitches I have in there. I think it's about 120, thereabouts, 120. I sat and stitched on it a couple of times this past week when I was on vacation with my husband. And I don't anticipate this getting completed anytime soon. Probably a few years. A lot of dark colors. Um, Let me show the chart again, or the picture again. Oh, there we go. Now, the story behind wanting to do this is that in 2020, I had a porcupine living in one of the wood piles on our property. And he was a little bit of an internet sensation. And if you want, I can post a link to the blog post about him because he kind of broke one of the Facebook groups, one of those what you see outside your window groups that popped up during 2020. And Earth Day, he just wandered off in the woods and I never saw him again. So I hope he's out somewhere living a good life, or she. I don't want to assume. It could have been a girl. Um, but yeah, the cloth from Forbidden Fiber Co. is super soft. It's like a half yard of Ada cloth, and I've got it all bundled up in the thing. And I decided I needed to have a Q-snap cover. I really like having those, so then I don't have to worry quite so much about getting if I get the fabric dirty or not. So those are the two things that I'm working on. And then I've got a couple of finishes. I finished a while back a snowflake piece that I started January 2023, I believe. I did not grab my little project card for that, even though I made sure I had it. But I haven't even written about this on the blog yet. And I was so happy to have it done. Oh, trying to do it so you can't see the reflection of the window. But I'll post a picture on the blog of it. 14 count Ada with silver strands running through it. It was some Ada I picked up from Hobby Lobby, all in blues. The chart came from an Etsy seller, Etsy store. I don't know what you would call it, Etsy seller or Etsy store, but it came from Etsy. And I did a little happy dance when I finally completed it because I struggled a lot with this one with all the color changes. Even though I had a pattern keeper, it was hard to keep track of. And I think this chart really taught me a lot with working with a lot of colors and colors that were kind of similar to each other. One of these blues I had to use 2 skeins of the floss, and then one color I think there was like maybe 30 stitches of, and I just felt like it was a total waste to have bought that one. At some point down the road, I'd like to make this again, but I think I want to do it in just one color and maybe a red. Maybe use a variegated red or a fancy floss red, just so there's some variegation. I mean, it's beautiful and I love it, but I would not want to do it like this again. So that is what I've recently oh no, one more. I forgot. One more. This one I have been working on since because I see I forgot the card for that one too. I just found my project cards for my snowflake and the other one I'm about to show you. So the snowflake was number 723 Snowflake from Tiny Cross Stitches on Etsy. And I gridded the fabric with a water-soluble pen, which was another thing. I don't think I would have been able to do that if I hadn't gridded the fabric. And I'm very grateful for the ability to do that. Otherwise, ugh, yeah, yuck. All right, the The next project that I finished, and I still need to press it, clean it up, and get it framed, is my bunny stitch, as I called it on Instagram. Let's see. I think the last video I did, I talked about starting it and using it for a piece of art for the grandbaby's room whenever I finally have a grandbaby, which I am not in a rush. My son can take his time. I had him when I was 25, so. Bunny Stitch the Meadow by Bothy Threads. The kit was given to me by a friend. And here it is, all done. This chart, I did not have Pattern Keeper for it, and I wasn't patient enough to try to take a picture and import it in or anything. So I just made copies, working copies of the chart, and used a highlighter to mark everything off. I thought I would be able to complete this in no time. I thought, oh yeah, easy enough, easy peasy. Until I started stitching that bunny and saw just how many colors and confetti stitches I had to do. I mean, this thing is full of customizations. Let's put it that way. Not errors, customizations, because I made everything work. And unless you had the chart right next to you and to compare, you'd never know. I mean, the finished product is beautiful. And I'm sorry, I can't tell if I'm showing these face on or not. Everything seems kind of crooked to me. But yeah, I want to finish, kind of give it a quick wash if possible, and iron the wrinkles out, and then find a frame to frame it. I'm thinking maybe like a natural wood to go around it. I think that would be really cute. And then I'll put it up on one of my walls, and then years down the road, it'll go in a grandbaby's nursery. Alrighty, next thing to show you is my knitting. I have a few things on the needles, not too many, because I'm working on them at certain times of the day in certain areas, things like that. My focus piece, however, is my February lady sweater, and I am making it from yarn that I got from Temu. I forget when, my husband and I started looking at Temu and kind of like, I think what everybody did was, oh my gosh, look at the stuff you can buy on Temu and look at those prices. And I've got some beautiful red yarn that is 95% alpaca, 5% acrylic, I think. And unfortunately, I don't know how big the skeins are. It says, well, it doesn't really say anything if you can read the label. But it's super soft. I love the English on there. It's super soft. And I started this, forgot to grab my card. I started this June 2nd when my husband was on his summer vacation, I guess you would call it. And I usually take time off with him and we go and do fun things. Oh, yeah, knitting on US size 8s. I'm actually going along on this a lot faster than I thought I was. For some reason, I thought I was just taking forever with this. But here it is so far. And I am just loving the color. I like working with the yarn. It's really soft to work with. And I started the first sleeve. I think I'm at 10 inches for the sleeve. And I'm past the elbow. And I guess I don't have much more to go. Yeah. So I am a fan of using stitch markers to keep track of the repeats. If I don't, I end up realizing way after the fact that I've messed something up, and I hate ripping back when it's any kind of lace pattern. I am using Chiaogu bamboo knitting needles. And I wasn't sure how I felt about the cords on this set, because I really like those red steel cable ones. But for the sleeve here, I am really liking it because I can work around. And actually what I end up doing, because the needles aren't the right size for working this, I knit around and then I just tug and then keep knitting and then tug again, keep knitting. So I really like them for that. That's working really well for me. And I had a goal of, I would love to be able to finish this sweater by the end of the week. I don't know that I'll be able to do that because I'm kind of working on another project in quilting. I also want to spend an evening spinning, and another another night I would like to work on a work in progress bag and make it, because I've got 5 bags I would like to make that I have the fabric for. And I think that was like my last blog post that I wrote about all this stuff that I wanted to do, what I'd hoped to finish it by. And now I don't know if I'll be able to get it all done in the time that I want to finish it. But I would love to get that done soon rather than let it drag on forever like the other project I'm about to show you. I started a pair of monkey socks back in November. Sock yarn was given to me by a dear friend. It's from Forbidden Fiber Co., Tale as Old as Time, on their Fortitude base. And I'm actually pretty far with it. I think I let this sit for maybe a couple of months before I picked it up and started working on it again. And then I had enough. I probably should have had a sock blocker. I had enough on the foot that I thought I would try it on, and it's kind of snug. And I was a little disappointed by that, so that went back in time out. And I reminded myself that it'll come out with blocking, right? It'll stretch a little bit and it'll fit. I mean, it fits. It's just really snug. And I don't think I've ever knit a sock that tight before. And this, yeah, I've made this sock pattern before and I don't remember it being quite so tight like that before. But I could be a tighter knitter because the last several years I've mostly knit vanilla socks, and you don't have to think about those. You don't even have to look at them. You just knit. But this one, I'm looking at it, making sure I don't drop any yarn overs or anything like that. So that maybe I'm more tense than I thought I was with them. So those will have to come into rotation soon, but I want to make sure I get the February lady sweater done first, because I don't like having a lot of projects going on, and I thought I could do it. I thought I could have 100 projects and be okay with working a little bit on this, then a little bit of that. And I can't do it. So kudos to you, to those who can. And then my last project, my last knitting project. Oop. Sorry. Is what I call my passenger princess socks. I cast these on as my husband was driving me to town one day in early June, and I had a pair of needles, a little skein of yarn, and I said, I'm going to start a pair of socks, and I'm only going to work on them when I'm a passenger princess. And I think I'm doing pretty good with them, considering that I'm actually not that often a passenger princess. We've been staying home a lot lately, which is fine because home is my happy place. And then, oh, again, I should have had a sock blocker, but I have a standard vanilla pattern that I use. Cast on 64. I think I use 10 or 12 rows of ribbing before I go to straight knitting. And I've fallen in love with the heel flap again. And apparently I put these away when I was in the middle of a row, which I usually don't do that, but I might have been in a rush because I had a few doctor appointments last week, which when I was in the waiting room, I picked up the stitches for the foot. So the sock yarn is Patton's Croy sock yarn. The colorway is Mid-Century Stripes. And I dig these colors. I like them a lot. And knit on US ones. And those only come out, well, once a week probably. As our drive to town is like 45 minutes, give or take, depending on where we're going. So those are the hand projects. The other things I'm working on is it's a quilt, sandpiper quilt from fatquartershop.com. It's one of two quilts that I thought I would be done with by now. I have the quilt top done, and if I will try to put a picture up here. Because I have it done. I just started quilting it. I decided to go with straight line quilting, and then my machine was giving me some fits, so I didn't get as much done as I thought I would, but I think everything's all worked out now. So once I do that, I'd like to immediately start working on one of my works in progress bags. But we'll see. Spinning, I think the Tour de Fleece might still be going on right now as I'm recording this. I opted to not participate. I don't do well with spin-alongs, knit-alongs, crochet-alongs, stitch-alongs. I don't know, there's something about feeling the pressure to do something that should be fun that makes it feel like work. And as soon as it feels like work, I don't have a lot of interest in it anymore. I gave the stitch along one last try last year, towards the end of the year. And of course, I didn't keep up, and then it was just a slog and a struggle, and I decided that I was not going to do it anymore, but I would be happy to cheer on everybody else. And then Instagram at some point decided to change how they do the hashtags. So you don't really see anything anymore. At least I don't. Unless I'm not following the right people on there. But yeah, so I don't see as much as I want to see on Instagram anymore. So if a designer has a Facebook group, I've just started joining those so I can see what everybody's working on. I have I don't really know what to call it other than a floss project. A while back in Flosstube world, somebody, I want to say Elizabeth Designs. She's kind of a new to me designer, so I don't know her name. I can picture her. Her first name's Elizabeth. It might be Elizabeth Ann. But she decided to organize her floss according to the DMC cards and has like the 20 color groups. And I thought that was a fantastic idea. I have some floss from Temu, and I decided to use that as the master set. And then if I ever need a color, I know I'd always have at least one skein of that color. It's something that I'm working on. I wrote about it last week, I think, last week on my blog. Most of my stuff is, I'm more comfortable writing than I am speaking. It's just the introvertedness of me, I guess. So, yeah, DMC project, I don't expect to be done with that anytime soon. I punched out a ton of floss drops. I think I might have done some serious damage to my card punch because now it doesn't want to pop back up anymore. I have 5 works in progress bags that I want to make. I cut up the fabric for them last week, and I just need to cut the batting and the vinyl, make sure I have all the zippers, and then hopefully it won't take me forever to make each bag because I'm only going to make one at a time. And I showed off the grime guard that I made for my porcupine cross stitch. Those things are so easy to make. It just took me a little bit to find instructions that I liked for the size fabric that I wanted to use. I've seen you can make them either using 6-inch wide fabric or 8-inch wide fabric. And I think the last time I made them, I used the 6-inch and I really liked that. So yeah, that is about it. And this was surprisingly less stressful than I thought it would be when I first started thinking about making this video. Oh, I have been watching Flosstube. I have a bunch of new to me Flosstubers, but I didn't write a list. So I don't want to share anything until I have the list and can make the appropriate links to their YouTube videos. But there's been some really fabulous ones coming out lately. I think one that kind of took the community by storm, and I can remember her YouTube channel. That was Comfort Stitching. I think she has like 10,000 subscribers now or something in like a month, maybe. I don't know. It was crazy, but she does. If you are a knitter and you remember like the golden age of knitting podcasts, I mean, I watch knitting YouTube's videos, but there's something about some of the early podcasters that is kind of nostalgic to me. But anyways, David Reedy. If any of you ever listened to David Reedy's podcast, I think he called himself a bloke from Australia, knitting bloke from Australia, and he had 2 Burmese cats. I remember the weirdest things, but he had a really great format, and then he ended each one with an essay, and that kind of reminded me a little bit of Quillerin from the Cat Who series, who always had to write like 500 words on any topic for his column, The Quill Pen. So I think I used to call David Reedy the knitting Quillerin, but excellent podcast. Excellent Flosstube, I mean. And now I think she's added a little segment to it with like a breathing meditation exercise. And Um, actually, I've only heard the one. I know she's got a video out now since I last watched her. And just based on the comments, people really like um, the the addition to that because she's got a wonderful voice, and it's very soothing. I guess her voice also kind of reminds me of Brenda Dane, who was another knitting podcaster from way back when, and I don't know if she's still podcasting at all. Okay, I guess to quote another floss tuber, I'm doing the Midwestern goodbye, and her name is Vulcan Stitches. She's okay. So now I've said I'm not going to say anything, but now here I am mentioning two of them, Comfort Stitches and then Vulcan Stitches, and she's a gal from Michigan, so I feel like she's my neighbor, and her and I have kind of gone back and forth a little bit, commenting on stuff, and she's another sweet gal, and she has two cats, which I love when people have cats and the cats will, grace us with their presence and give us a little cameo, and then I kind of squeal over the kitty. So I'll link those two in my show notes. So until then, next time, which I'm not sure will be probably towards the end of July, I will say goodbye. Happy stitching. Enjoy the weather if you can. Hopefully, it's not too hot or not too rainy like what we've been having. The Goldilocks zone. Bye.